Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Pete's Dragon. My name is Rebecca Campbell, and I'm the CEO of the Austin Film Society, and I'm so pleased to welcome you to the beautiful, historic Paramount Theater in downtown Austin, Texas. I'm also happy to welcome our remote audience. We have people from all over the country watching that are at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas, so welcome, everybody. So today's screening is a benefit for the Austin Film Society's Artist Services Program. And over the past 20 years, we have helped hundreds of Texas filmmakers get their movies made and get a leg up in this very, very difficult art form that takes a long time to perfect. And one of those artists is David Lowery, the director of Pete's Dragon. So I think it's pretty great that David Lowery came here to share his movie with us 2 weeks before it opens, to help us raise funds for the next generation of Texas artists. And I really appreciate all of you who have bought tickets and are supporting the Artist Services Program of the Austin Film Society. Thank you so much for being here. I also have some shout outs to the Walt Disney Studios for helping us put this event on, the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, the Austin Chronicle, Do 512 Family, and Kelly's Cookies and Terra Toys. Please give a round of applause to our kind sponsors. So Pete's Dragon has been getting rave reviews, and I'll just tell you what Variety magazine said. They said, Pete's Dragon is one of the year's most delightful movie-going surprises. This project, mounted with the confidence and clarity of vision of an old master, feels like a great step up for Lowery. So AFS could not be more proud to bring on stage this great Texas artist. This is somebody we've been following for many years, and we're very happy that the wider world is going to discover his talents. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the director of Pete's Dragon, David Lowery.
I think they want us to stand on these marks here. Thank you all for coming out here tonight. Tonight, it's not tonight, this morning. It's way too early. I really am excited to bring this movie here, and specifically to bring it here with the Austin Film Society, because in 2007, which was shockingly 9 years ago, I think it was almost exactly 9 years ago, because I think it was the beginning of September, I got an email saying I had received a grant from the AFS, and the grant went towards my first feature, Saint Nick, which was a little $12,000 movie. A year later, we came back to AFS and did a test screening of it, and then we premiered it at South by Southwest in 2009. And I mean, Texas has always supported my work, Austin has always supported my work, but for some reason, I haven't been able to show a movie or premiere a movie here since Saint Nick in 2009, so that's just way too long. And it is so wonderful to be back here to show this movie in the United States for the first time, because no one's seen it publicly yet. And I can't think of a better way to do that than right here in Austin, in Texas, and with so many friends in the audience here. So this movie was a blast to make, really fun. I'm really, really proud of it. I hope if you've seen my other movies, I think you'll feel this one feels just like all the other ones. And if you haven't, you'll hopefully like this one too. And I'm not gonna say anything else. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm really proud of it. And I will be back here afterwards to talk with my co-writer, Toby Halbrooks.
Okay, so get ready for a beautiful adventure. And then after the screening's over, the credits will run all the way through, and then David and Toby will come back for a Q&A with Holly Herrick from the Austin Film Society. Please remember, as always, to silence your cell phones, and enjoy.
Thank you so much.
And please, Peach Dragon and Toby Hallbrooks, the co-writer of Peach Dragon.
Thanks for sticking around.
Howdy.
Did you like it? I haven't heard from anybody yet.
Folks, I'm Holly. I'm from the Austin Film Society, and tonight we're going to hear both from our audience here in Austin as well as audiences at Alamo Draft Houses around the country. So I'm going to be repeating the questions of the Austin audience at the Alamo Draft House audience. Hello, folks in other cities can hear our questions tonight. So before we get started, I wanted to ask a couple of questions of these guys. First of all, can you tell us how the two of you met and came together, and maybe what you loved about the original Peach Dragon? This is a movie that people our age watched when we were children. Can you tell us about watching that film and what inspired you from that first movie to make a remake?
We met making movies in Dallas.
Correct.
Many years ago.
About 10.
And then we listened to some Spice Girls together, and then we liked
So
that.
much Spice Girls.
Lots of Spice Girls. I think a lot of people our age, we're all like 19 or so, we had the original Pete's Dragon on VHS. I didn't because my parents didn't allow me to watch television, and we didn't have a TV or VCR.
I think it was the first Disney release on VHS.
I went to a friend's house, and they had a VCR, and I watched it there, and I loved it. It was great. But I only saw it once or twice when I was that age, but I believe you saw it.
A lot. I would play it on repeat at home, and my brother, I'd be like, my mom would say, "What do you want to watch?" And I'd say, "Pete's Dragon." My brother would stand behind her, and be like, not again. And so I'd have to make up an excuse to watch another movie because he would threaten me. Because the songs for not children are sometimes a bit much when you're a child and watching it 15 times in a row. So that was my experience with it. And yeah, we didn't really watch it again since then.
When we had the opportunity to make this movie, we decided not to go back and watch the original so that we wouldn't steal from it and so that we wouldn't, I think there's value in movies when you're telling a story a second time to not like try to do something that's been done before. It's like you try to hit the weight. We wanted to recapture like the memories that we remember about the original without trying to like slavishly recreate individual moments or scenes. We really wanted to create like the way we remembered it feeling and the feelings that we had from watching it rather than try to literally remake the original.
Accurate.
And what were some of those feelings that you wanted to recapture?
I mean, I don't know if anyone's seen the original lately, but I mean, I remember being pretty dangerous, like feeling kind of like risky and strange and sort of, it had a very rough feeling to it in that like it all felt sort of handmade and ramshackle, but it also had like just so much heart and humor and wonder to it, and especially like as a kid who grew up loving pets and imaginary friends and all of the things that, all of the nonverbal friendships you have as a child, sometimes just with a stuffed animal, like I responded to that type of thing so much, and that meant so much to me, and I really wanted to just recapture that feeling.
So we're going to take a little break before I ask the next question and remind you about the Alamo Drafthouse's 3-word review. If you want to if you are on Twitter or Facebook and want to do a 3-word review, and this is for you all in Austin and anybody around the country, a 3-word review of #PeachDragon, #3-word review, we encourage you to do that. Just tell some of the words that come to your mind from your imagination after watching the movie. So back to imaginations, I want to know how did you had to use your imagination to come up with this dragon. And what were some of the ideas that you were thinking of when you pictured this new dragon that you would get to invent in your mind?
He was always going to be furry. Like day
we
one.
We went and pitched the movie to
yeah, I mean,
producers
we
and
knew we
Disney
wanted to make something that you could hold on to and that you would want to hold
to
on
cuddle with. But basically, I just like my cats a lot.
True.
And Toby likes my cats also.
I love them.
And the only thing missing from our lives with them is that they're not 20 feet tall.
Accurate.
And you can't sleep on their bellies. So we basically just, I mean, that's really, I wanted to make a dragon that, I mean, dragons are awesome. I love all dragons, going back to, Bryce in this movie, and one of the things I got dork out about was that she her dad made Willow, which was a movie I loved as a kid, and the dragon in that, the Ebersisk, I thought was so freaking cool. That was probably the first dragon I loved. And then, of course, Disney's made some great ones themselves with Maleficent and Sleeping Beauty. But the idea of making just a 20-foot tall pet, and not like a pet, like a subservient pet, but like the type of pet that you're best friends with. Because when I was a kid, my dog was certainly one of my best friends, if not my literal best friends, since I had no friends that were human. And that was what I wanted to capture with it. And that was, everything that went into the creation of him. We were always trying to figure out how to make him a character in the movie who was, an emotional creature, a character who could have all the development of all the humans, but at the same time capture everything you love about your pets.
And so how does a dragon like that get made? It goes from your mind and your idea about a furry green pet dragon and then transforms into this beautiful animal we see on screen. What goes into that process?
The design part of it is probably the most crucial part, because you just got to figure out what it's going to look like. And I'm a pretty bad drawer, but I drew some pictures of what I thought he should look like, gave those to a bunch of concept artists, including my brother, who did a lot of the design work for the movie, and he also illustrated the little book that Pete has, It Gets Lost. And I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted him to look like. I knew I wanted his head to be, bigger than, like, too big for his body, and I wanted his neck to be a certain length and to have, the fur, but also to have the bat wings, because if you don't have those leathery wings, then the creature ceases to be a dragon. And so we had a pretty rough idea of it, and then also just a sense of, like, emotion that he needed to have. So we'd look at animals like elephants or whales that have, like, those really, emotive eyes. And then, so we came up with, what he looked like, and had a bunch of artwork done, drawings and Photoshop renderings of him. And then we gave those to the team at Weta Digital in New Zealand, and they start building him. And they build him, entirely digitally in a computer, but they start with a skeleton, add muscles to it, and they really have to make sure he will function as if he's a real creature. And so they go step by step, like putting starting with the skeleton, then putting the muscles in, putting like a heart in so you can have a heartbeat, like all the little details that like actually contribute to him feeling as much as possible like a real living creature. And then adding the fur and figuring out how long the fur is. It's all done, meticulously, but while you're sitting at a desk on a computer, which is a weird thing. And then all the little details like the scars he has or his broken tooth, and you just kind of go through and start adding little things that really bring him to life, the little touches. And probably the hardest thing in that process to do is just figure out how big his eyes were going to be, because you wanted the eyes to show a lot of emotion, have a lot of character, and larger eyes are good at that, but if they get too big, it gets a little too cartoony, but if they're too small, you can't read them. So we went through a lot of trial and error getting the eyes just right. And so it's a little bigger, it's a little more surrealistic or unrealistic than a real animal, but at the same time, just right in that sweet spot where you can still kind of believe that he's real.
Something else that brings him to life is his voice. How did you create that?
That was it.
Apparently, this is what I do.
I should mention that Toby played the dragon in 2 scenes.
It's true. I was hiding in a very pokey green head.
Yeah, we have
It wasn't meant to be climbed inside of.
On set, usually we would have nothing, but sometimes we'd have a big green head that was roughly the right size so that, if the actors needed to touch it or interact with it. And at one point, I don't even know why we made you get in, but we had you climb inside of it so that you.
I think just to make everybody laugh.
Yeah, but that whole scene where Pete's sitting on the hill,
awesome. Yeah.
looking at the stars. That Toby's playing the dragon in that scene. But where was I going? Oh, then noises. Has anyone seen Tales from the Crypt? And I hope if you have, you're adults and not kids. But so John Kassir, the guy who did the voice of the Crypt Keeper, did the voice of Elliot. And mixed in with that are the sounds of lots of different animals. So there's a bear, there's a lion, there's tigers, there's a horse in there at some point. There's a lot of different sounds, but we found that if you just used animal sounds, he didn't have enough character or enough emotion, so we needed to get a human. And I'm just a big Tales from the Crypt fan and knew that John did animal noises, or could do really good animal noises, and so he came in for a couple days, and we went through the whole movie, and he just, it's kind of weird to watch him work, because these sounds that are coming out of his mouth don't make sense for a human to make, but he can do it, and it's pretty exceptional.
So I think it would be challenging for your two amazing young actors, Una Lawrence, who plays the young girl, and Oak Spegley, who plays Pete, to act with a dragon that they hadn't seen before. Was that a challenge, and what kind of other challenges did those two children have?
It wasn't a challenge for them at all, surprisingly. They were so good at it that it helped us shoot the movie better, because they were so adept at pretending or believing that the dragon was there when it wasn't. Like the whole part where she's reaching up and meeting him and touching him for the first time, there's like literally nothing there. And she just, I didn't say you need to be petting his nose the specific way. I was just like, you just need to go up there and pet the dragon and just let me see how you do it. And she would just nail it. Because she was really able to believe that he was there. And because both she and him were so adept at doing that, it helped us shoot the scenes better, because we were able to see exactly what they were interacting with through their eyes. And it was really quite extraordinary for me, and a great gift for me as a director, to be able to watch how they acted with something that wasn't there, because they completely bought into it and believed in it and sold it for both me and the rest of the crew, and it really brought the dragon to life on set, even though he was never physically there.
So perhaps he was there.
Yeah, I mean,
May as well have been.
Might as well have been.
I mean,
Exactly.
we just can't see him because we're too old.
Yeah, we're 19, as I said before, and we can't
It's
see
a
him
bummer.
anymore.
That's
yeah.
really when you age
turned
out.
19.
Yeah.
It's cut off. And Weta did something very smart. They did a presentation for them to show them how it was all going to work and what they would see. So they had a pretty good idea of what he would look like eventually.
Yeah, they definitely knew what he would look like. And then halfway through the shoot, the very first day that we ever shot anything was when Pete's running through the river at the beginning with the dragon. And so halfway through production, they had finished a couple of those shots already. And so I remember they emailed them to me when we were on set at the mill, and I'm just like, holy cow, this is amazing. And it was the first time I'd seen any of it too, and so I just went and grabbed the kids and showed them on my phone, and it was a really fun moment to see exactly what the dragon was going to look like for the first time.
So we have time for some questions from the audience. So please be brave and raise your hands high, and I will call on you and repeat your question. And I saw one right down the middle. So what's happening to the dragon when you touch him and he changes color?
We wanted to show that he feels comfortable with certain people, and that he feels like he belongs with certain people. And since his fur can change color and he can turn invisible and things like that, we felt that if someone that he responds to touches him and he just lights up a little bit and turns a little more, a little brighter shade of green, that just would show that he trusts that person or feels comfortable with them, or that person's okay. And so it happens twice, once with Pete at the beginning and then once when Grace touches them. And that was just a way for us to show that these are people that he trusts and that aren't going to hurt him.
There was one right over there, yes. How did you get Pete to ride the flying dragon?
We just threw him off a cliff,
It was a really risky move.
but it worked.
Sometimes you just got to take that leap.
No, we had a machine that was built by the special effects artists in New Zealand that was sort of like a bucking bronco, and it was just this big hydraulic machine with a dragon back on it. And so Pete would get on that, and it was basically like a theme park ride. It was so much fun to ride on it, and he got to do it for a full day, so I'm sure he got sick of it, but I enjoyed it the times I got to ride on it. And it basically just pitches you around and it behaves, you program it so it behaves as if it's a creature flying, and then in post-production add the rest of the dragon in and put the sky in and things like that. But Pete was really riding something, and it was pretty high off the ground, so we got the illusion of him flying. We made it as realistic as we could for him.
We had another 19-year-old over here who had a question. So Robert Redford being on the cast, what was that like for you as the director to work with somebody who is also a director, and did he share some of his
Redford's a
directorial
director?
wisdom?
He made movies?
First I'd heard of him.
I mean, I know he's acted before, but no, Robert Redford is a joy to work with, and he respects the boundaries between, you know, as my favorite assistant director says, he knows how to stay in his lane. And that's a wonderful gift to have, because certainly he's made way more movies than I have, knows way more about making movies than I do. And if he were to offer advice, I would probably be like, oh, you know, yeah, let's just do what he says. But also, at the same time, he's not there to do that. He's there to act and basically to do what I say, which is a really weird place to be in, to have Robert Redford just sitting there waiting for you to tell him what to do. And he did it, and he did it wonderfully, and it was really fun to just, you know, he walks on set and everyone's like, holy crap, it's Robert Redford. There's no way to get away from the fact that he's a legend, but he shows up with his sleeves rolled up, ready to work, and is very quick to disarm everyone, just to let everyone know that he's not, you know, he is a movie star, he is a legend, but he's also a hardworking actor who's there to make the movie that everyone else is there to make. And so he's a team player in the best case scenario.
Right here. Did Disney come to you to make this movie, or did you go to Disney?
We met halfway.
Yeah. We were at one table, and they were at one table, and we're like, hey, we know you guys.
They winked at us from
Yeah.
across the room.
No, we sort of, you know, they were talking about making this movie, and they knew about us, and so they asked us if we were interested. And that wasn't like offering us a job. They just wanted to know if we would be interested in talking about it. And from there, we went to LA and went to the Disney studios and sat down, and we just had a couple like long conversations about it, about how we would do it and how, if we were gonna make this movie, like what we would want to do with it. And after a couple of those chats, they asked us but they offered us the job, and that was a really exciting thing, because we didn't think in a million years they would ever hire the two of us to make this movie. But so it was sort of like we met halfway, as Toby said, and it worked out quite well.
One right here. How did the dragon fly? So this was a little bit about what we were talking about with the computers that helped to make the dragon, but we can
Magic.
talk about making it fly, yeah. And magic.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Movie
of magic. You know, we knew that we wanted him to be able to fly, because dragons have wings and they should be able to fly. And so when we were designing him, we just made sure he had wings that were big enough to keep him in this air. And we looked at things like animals like seagulls and lots of other birds that have really big wings and figured out how they fly. And then we made our dragon do exactly the same thing when we were animating him.
Obviously, he's not very good at landing, though.
He's a terrible lander.
All right, we had one in the back in the middle, and then we'll come back here. What happened to that missing tooth? And what were the scars from?
Landing. He's a very poor lander.
I think that's where the scars came from. The tooth came because one day he was eating some rocks, and he bit down on one of the rocks a little too hard. And I know that's not the most exciting answer, but it's the truth.
We did film that scene. It was just too long.
Yes, right here in the pink. Oh. Who was Pete?
Yes.
He's that guy right there.
Success.
Yes.
He's the hero of the movie.
In the orange? Go ahead. How long did it take to make this movie?
It's a lot of different stages, but it's been a little bit over 3 years from beginning to end. But to shoot, you know, we spent about a year working on the script, and then we shot it it took about 4 months to film it. And then it took about a year from the time we finished filming it to now to put all the pieces together and to finish the dragon, really. The dragon took a long time to get right on screen. So it's been a 3-year process, but it's lots of little pieces of that. So you go through different stages of it. It never feels like it's as long as it really actually was.
Question in the balcony.
How many total people
Roughly
Okay, so there were a lot of names in the credits. We sat through all the credits, and we want to know how many people worked on this film.
6.5 minutes worth. It's thousands of people. It takes thousands of people to make a movie like this. So on the crew in New Zealand, when we were shooting, we had probably 300 people, 250 to 300 people. Some people are there the whole time, others aren't. But then when you get into the post-production, the visual effects, that number just goes way up because you have so many people working to bring Elliot to life. And that just is it's an army of people to make a movie like this.
True.
Yes, we don't know the total number because there's
I hate
very
saying this,
many.
but there's people that worked on this movie that I've never met or don't know because there are the people that I talk to, and then there's like hundreds of people that work under them sometimes, and I try to know everybody's name and meet them all, but when it gets this big, especially with the visual effects, you just can't.
So it's safe to say this is the biggest film you've ever made. But what about that surprised you with having a production this big? Was there any department that was sort of, oh, I didn't know there were that many people who did that, or?
It wasn't really surprising. You sort of know going into it that it's going to, you know that the visual effects are going to take as many people as it takes. A big part of the reason you know that is because I think I've watched all the behind-the-scenes documentaries on the Lord of the Rings movies, and you just kind of like, on big movies like that, you just sort of like figure out how they get made by watching DVDs these days. It's a really good film school. And I mean, the biggest surprise on this movie to me was how much it felt like all the other movies I made. It really didn't feel, aside, you have a lot of people working on it, but at the end of the day, it's still like me and the cinematographer and a camera and a couple actors. And everyone else, once you call action, kind of fades away into the background because they've got all their own little jobs to do, and they do them well. And if they're doing them well, you don't notice it happening because you're in charge of, what's happening in front of the camera. And that felt exactly the same as it had on everything I've ever made.
The music is really wonderful in the film. Can you talk a little bit about some of the music that you chose and also the score?
I'll let Toby handle that one because Toby was very instrumental in that process, including writing a bunch of the songs. He's going to sing a couple for you.
Ready? Yeah, thank you. There was somebody who said no. David had an idea to like tie the world together with that folk song at the beginning, the one that opened the movie and also was in the end credits. And we knew who we wanted to write the song, this gentleman named Will Oldham, who plays under the moniker Bonnie Prince Billy. We were like 2 weeks out from production, and they're like, if you want that to happen, you've got to write it yourself. And that makes total sense. So we did, we wrote it. And just real quick, I think we did the demo in my car outside of the studio. And luckily, everybody enjoyed that tune, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the music, I think.
Yeah, it really did. Like when people heard that, they were like, "Oh, that's what this movie should sound like."
Thank you, Anel.
And yeah, Nell, who was a costumer and Toby's fiance, sang it. And anyway,
the demo. Sorry.
The demo, yeah.
Anyway, so then I asked Will Oldham if he would sing it, and he said yes. And we really lucked out and got our
he
hero.
rewrote a little bit of it too and made it his own. It was really beautiful. And then from there, we ended up. Toby wrote another song, the one that's when Pete's running through the town. He wrote that with our friend Andrew, and that was performed by the Lumineers. And then St. Vincent does another song in the movie. And we just really kind of found artists that we liked and that had the right sound for the movie and the right feel for the movie. And basically, it's just a bunch of our favorite musicians.
It's totally true.
Yeah.
We have time for a couple more questions. I saw one right here, and then we'll come back here. Yes. The question is about the children's book, and is the book a real book?
It is now. Another one of David's brilliant ideas, just these little artifacts, like the song's an artifact that kind of goes through the movie and ties it all together. The book also ties the movie together and kind of represents Pete's journey. And Disney published the book. Yeah, it's out. You can get it.
And then Barnes & Noble or anywhere books are sold.
Anywhere.
Right here. Okay, how early, David, did you start making movies? When did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
When I was 7, and I haven't matured since then. I made this movie for me as a 7-year-old, because I was like, what would I have loved when I was 7 when I decided I want to make movies? And this is entirely geared towards what I would have loved back then. And that was when I decided I wanted to do it. I remember I was at a friend's house in their backyard, and I was like, do you think you're ever going to make a movie? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, I think I will. And then from that point forward, that's all I've ever wanted to do. And that's probably all I'll ever do with my life. So I'm pretty far along there. So
It didn't occur to me until I was about 19.
Okay, we have one last question, and I did see this one go up first, so I'm going to take the one back here. Yes. Any ideas that you had that didn't end up making it into the movie?
You know, what's funny is that the movie is pretty close to the script. We didn't have to cut any scenes out, really. Like, we shortened some scenes, but there's nothing that really got cut out. We did have one idea very early on that when the dragon leaves the forest, that the forest would die, and that he has to stay in the forest to keep it alive. And that was one of those ideas that was really beautiful on the page, but really didn't feel like we could translate well in a way that made sense and that would fit with the story. So that was an idea that we had early on that didn't make it. But other than that, it's pretty much from the day we went in and met with Disney and told them we were going to make a movie with a furry dragon, it pretty much was exactly the same from day one to now.
Well, in the first draft of the script, my character was way bigger.
Your character was way bigger. That's true.
Did anyone
Slowly
see
got
him?
whittled away.
Did anybody see Toby in the movie?
I saw him. Who knows who Toby was in the movie? The unfortunate ambulance patient. That's correct.
The title will follow me for the rest of my life.
So before we wrap up, tell us what's next for you guys, so how we can find you in your next projects.
We're retired. We can't
That's it.
it's not going to get any better, right? No, we're going to make a movie this fall with Robert Redford, another one, because he likes us enough to make another movie with him. And so we're going to do that. And then we're working on another movie for Disney called Peter Pan, which is because we decided we only want to make movies with characters named Pete or Peter or some. So look forward to Peter and the Wolf in 2020. And what's the other one? Peter Pumpkin Eater in 2022.
Exactly.
We're just going to hit them all. We're going to hit them all.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
you to our
everybody.
remote audience. Thanks for your
Thank you very
support at
much.
Austin Film Society. And don't forget your 3-word review. Thanks to the Alamo Draft House. And don't forget your 3-word Alamo Draft House Peach Dragon review. Thank you.